Monica Everett was a very special witch. Unlike others, she didn't need to say incantations to use magic. She had once defeated a legendary dragon all by herself. Even though she was incredibly powerful, Monica was extremely shy and had trouble talking to people. One day, she received a secret mission to enter a magic academy and protect the second prince without him knowing. It seemed impossible. How could someone so shy and nervous protect a prince and face such great danger? The story begins with a massive battle. A group of mages was trying to defend their land from a sudden dragon attack. Huge dragons flew in from all directions, and the mages quickly created a magic wall to protect themselves. This battle happened in the kingdom of Riddell in the land owned by Count Kerbeck. His territory had been attacked by dragons for years, so the people were used to fighting them. In fact, Count Kerbeck's family had a long history of fighting dragons. The mages tried hard to hit one of the dragons with powerful magic, but their attacks didn't work. They decided their best chance was to aim at the dragon's eye. If they could blind it, the dragon would fall, and they could cut off its head. The commander told everyone to stay strong and keep their positions no matter what. Suddenly, the ground began to shake violently. It felt like a huge earthquake or maybe something worse. Everything went silent. People looked around, frightened and confused. They wondered if this was the end or if something even more terrible was coming. Then they saw the cause of the shaking. A gigantic black dragon. It was more than 500 meters long, dark as night, and much larger than any dragon they had ever seen. The smaller dragons flew around it like tiny flies. If the small dragons were already too strong for humans, there was no chance they could fight this one. This black dragon had appeared only twice in history. Each time entire cities were destroyed. Meanwhile, in the royal palace, Count Kerbeck's daughter Isabella had been warned by her assistant that danger was near and they needed to leave quickly. But Isabella refused to escape. She said her father and the knights were out there fighting for the kingdom and she couldn't abandon her people. Even if she had to fight, she was determined to stay. At the same time, a hooded mage is seen walking through the rough mountains of the kingdom. A few months later, far away from the battlefield, Monica is in her small, messy home. Her assistant arrived, bringing a basket full of vegetables, carrots, tomatoes, and more. The room was cluttered with books and trash. The assistant gave her news. 3 months ago, dragons had attacked the eastern border. Many winged dragons had been seen near a village, and the worst part was that the legendary black dragon had led them. It seemed like one of the 7 sages had summoned the dragon, and no one knew who had done it or who had stopped the attack. Monica quietly gave her assistant a large amount of money as thanks for bringing food. The assistant was shocked by how much money she gave and asked what Monica did for a living. Monica nervously replied that she was a math teacher. Then the assistant mentioned that someone had come to see her. Monica immediately panicked. She didn't like meeting strangers and didn't want anyone to find out who she really was. She turned around and saw a man standing at the door. She slammed it shut out of panic, but he pushed it open and walked right in, acting like he owned the place. Though he was a bit annoying, he used magic to clean up the whole room in just a few seconds. The man was Louise, one of the 7 sages of Riddell, just like Monica. He was one of the kingdom's most powerful magic users. He sat down and looked at her. Monica was known as the Silent Witch. She was beautiful but very shy. She couldn't speak in front of crowds and often fainted from nervousness. When she was a student at the magic school, the Minerva Institute, she struggled in class because she couldn't say her spells out loud. Then she came up with a clever idea. If she couldn't speak spells, she would learn to use magic silently. This was something almost no one could do, but Monica made it work. From there, her skills quickly improved. Back in the present, Louise sighed and said she was still wasting her amazing talent. He asked his maid to set up a magic barrier around the room so no one could hear them. Then Louise explained why he had come. The king had given him a special task, to secretly protect the second prince. Monica was surprised, especially because Louise was known to support the first prince. Louise admitted that was true, but he explained that the king had personally given him this mission, and he didn't think it was his place to question the king's decision. He told her that Prince Felix, the second prince, was currently studying at Serendia Academy, a boarding school. Louise said it would be suspicious if he got close to the prince himself because everyone knew who he was, so he wanted Monica to go instead. He showed her a magical brooch that he had designed. It had many functions: a communication spell, a shield, and a tracking device. He had given one to the prince and wore one himself. That way they would be linked and he could offer help if anything happened. Monica was shocked and asked if this was considered spying. Louise calmly explained that he wasn't spying. He was protecting someone under royal orders. It was normal to keep watch over someone when their life was in danger. Then he shared more about the brooch. It had originally been a gift from the king to the prince, but it broke just one day after being given. Another sage named Chris had spent a full week crafting it without any rest, yet it was destroyed almost immediately. Louise had worked hard to build a new one, even spending time away from his beloved wife. Monica asked if the prince was safe, and Luis confirmed that he was, though the situation worried him. After learning that the brooch had broken by accident, Luis had rushed to the academy himself. The staff told him that nothing strange had happened. He looked directly at Monica and told her she needed to understand what he was saying. But Monica nervously replied that she didn't understand any of it. So Luis said it clearly. He wanted her to take his place and secretly protect the prince at the academy. Monica's eyes widened in fear. She said she couldn't do it, but Luis explained that she was ideal for the mission. He told her that she was quiet, unknown, and powerful. No one would suspect her. He said she was wise and kind, and that she would never do anything to harm the prince. Also, unlike him, she wasn't part of high society. She always kept her head down at formal events, and no one even knew what she looked like. That made her the perfect hidden guardian. He also reminded her of her rare talent, using magic without speaking. That power made her perfect for protecting someone in secret. Monica started crying. She really didn't want to do this, but Luis didn't let up. He reminded her that although she had joined the Seven Sages 2 years ago, she hadn't done much besides writing papers. Monica tried to defend herself by saying she had killed a dragon 3 months ago. Luis replied that he had killed 10 dragons in that same time. He told her to take his words seriously. She was one of the kingdom's greatest mages. There were things only she could do. Monica said she was just a reserve member of the sages, but Luis didn't care. The king had made him responsible for the prince's safety, and if Luis said she had to help, then she had no choice. Monica finally agreed, though unwillingly. Luis then shared his plan. A few years ago in Count Kerbek's territory, there had been an orphan girl. The old countess had adopted her because she looked like her late husband. The girl had lived happily until the countess died. Then the count's daughter started treating her like a servant. When the daughter got accepted into Serendia Academy, she brought the orphan girl as her maid. Luis told Monica she would now pretend to be that maid and infiltrate the academy. Monica was shocked. She could hardly believe what she was being asked to do. That night, she sat quietly, trying to process everything. Her cat Nero tried to comfort her. Monica whispered that she couldn't protect the prince. Nero replied that she should refuse then. Monica said she couldn't say no. Luis would keep coming after her. Even his gloves couldn't hide the roughness of his knuckles, which scared her. Nero tried to lift her spirits by mentioning that the prince was probably handsome and that he liked books. Monica wondered if she had ever seen the king before, but admitted she always closed her eyes out of embarrassment at events. Nero sighed, questioning how she planned to protect someone she'd never even seen. The next day, Monica flew through the sky with Luis and his maid named Ren. They arrived at Luis's home, where his wife greeted them. She noticed that Monica looked pale and unwell. After resting, Monica felt a little better. However, suddenly, a girl laughed at her poor clothing. She mocked her name, saying she was part of the lowest class in the Kerbek family. But then, she surprised them. She said she had been practicing how to speak like a mean girl, then proudly introduced herself as Isabella, daughter of Count Kerbek. She thanked Monica for slaying the Black Dragon on behalf of her father and the villagers. Isabella remembered when the Black Dragon had attacked. They had been heading straight for the palace when a young boy rushed in to announce that a mage from the capital had defeated it. That mage had been Monica, the silent sorceress. She had defeated the dragon alone and vanished without a word. However, shortly after the Black Dragon was defeated, green dragons came to the city seeking revenge. One large dragon even landed on the palace roof. Just as it attacked, Monica cast a spell and defeated it with a single strike. Then she silently removed the dragon corpses with wind magic and disappeared once again. In the present, Isabella smiled. She said Monica had defeated not just the Black Dragon, but all the other dragons too, and all on her own. Now that Monica was going undercover at the academy, Isabella promised to act mean to her in public so no one would suspect the truth. All Monica had to do was focus on protecting the prince. The next day, Monica had a dream. In it, her father gave her a measuring tape. She smiled brightly and began measuring everything in their house from tables to windows. She felt proud and excited, like her father's little helper. But the dream ended and she woke up inside a carriage. The soft rocking reminded her of where she really was. She was on her way to Serendia Academy to begin her secret mission. It was an important job, and even though she was nervous, she knew she had no choice but to do her best. At the academy, Isabella was not happy. She was told that she would have to share a room with Monica. A staff member apologized, thinking Monica might be related to Isabella. But earlier that day, Monica had actually told the academy that she didn't want to share a room with anyone. She believed she couldn't live in such a situation because it made her uncomfortable. Isabella, hearing this, smiled and whispered that she would solve the problem in her own way, like a proper noble lady. Later, Isabella made a big scene in front of the staff. She acted surprised and upset about the room-sharing arrangement. A staff member panicked and quickly offered to find another room for her. Isabella dramatically said the attic would be fine, and if not, even the stables would do. Monica was taken aback by her act. When the staff left, Isabella gave Monica a quick wink, revealing it was all just a performance to help her. Meanwhile, in the student council meeting room, trouble was brewing. Aaron, the treasurer, was being investigated for changing the financial records over 30 times. The other members, Elliot, Bridget, Neil, and council president Felix, were all serious. Felix reminded Aaron that the only reason he was part of the council was because of a recommendation from his powerful grandfather, Duke Clockford. Aaron grew angry, insulted Felix, and tried to attack him. But before he could do anything, Cyril, another member of the council, used a freezing spell to stop him. He calmly warned Aaron that attacking someone on school grounds was a serious offense. That evening, Isabel was sad she couldn't stay with Monica. She had planned for them to have a tea party together, and now that moment was lost. As she walked through the academy, she saw Aaron being dragged away by the student council. He kept shouting that he was innocent. Isabella saw the group from a distance. She had met most of them before, except for Cyril. The next day in class, the teacher Victor introduced Monica. He reminded the students that Serendia Academy was meant for the elite, the best of the best. Monica remembered her past. She had been bullied before, and now the fear returned. She didn't say anything and quietly took her seat. The other students chatted, but Monica kept to herself. A girl named Lena approached Monica. She asked why Monica wore her hair in braids. Monica quietly replied that she didn't know how to style it any other way. Lana asked where she was from, and when Monica said she came from the city of Lynn, Lana started asking about fashion trends there. But Monica didn't know any. Lana then told her that in the royal capital, the latest trend was something called lipstick. Without waiting, she reached out and began styling Monica's hair. She told her not to move. When Lana finished, she showed Monica her reflection in a mirror. Monica was shocked. She hadn't said a single word during the makeover, but her appearance had completely changed. Later, Monica wandered through the academy, trying to stay unnoticed. She thought about what would happen if she failed her mission. Lewis, her superior, had warned her not to make mistakes. She had to try harder. She found a quiet spot and checked her lunch, a small portion of food. Just then, she bumped into someone. It was Prince Felix. Monica quickly tried to turn around, but Elliot suddenly appeared. He grabbed her arm and accused her of being a spy. She dropped her meal and, in the confusion, fell to the ground. Felix told Elliot to let her go. After learning that she was a new student, Felix kindly picked up her food, handed it back to her, and called her a shy little squirrel. While Monica was trying to thank Felix, something suddenly fell toward them from above. But Monica quickly used her magic to protect them. Elliot ran off to check what had happened. Felix then turned to Monica to ask if she was okay. However, Monica collapsed and passed out. When she woke up, Selma, a girl from the health committee, was by her side. She said Monica could return to her dorm after calming down. Back in her room, Monica lay on her bed, exhausted. Her talking cat Nero asked how her day went. Monica felt like everything had gone wrong. She almost cried. Nero told her not to give up and even suggested using mind control magic. But Monica refused. She believed the kind of magic was too dangerous and unfair to use on others. Monica felt guilty. Everyone had been kind to her, but she couldn't even properly thank them. Nero offered to help. He turned into a human to show he could be useful, but Monica screamed and ran away, startled by his transformation. Just then, they noticed a strange man hanging around the dorm area. Nero guessed that this person might be targeting the prince. Monica was shocked. She told Nero she had already met Prince Felix. That night, Monica dreamed about her father and the research he used to do. She asked if his research had been finished when he completed some formulas. But her father had only completed a small part. The research was huge and not many people found it useful, which surprised Monica because he had worked so hard. After waking up, Monica washed her face and looked at herself in the mirror. She realized she had never really cared for her hair before. She asked Nero what he didn't think was useless. Nero thought she was getting philosophical and proudly said he knew the word philosophy, asking her to praise him. He added that enjoying pointless things made life better since life is full of meaningless moments anyway. He quoted a writer named Dustin Gunther who wrote something similar in a novel. But Monica had been fighting hard just to survive, so she couldn't understand how to enjoy meaningless things. Then she remembered something her father said, the greater the challenge, the greater the joy. She realized she needed to challenge herself more, so she went to class and tried to talk to Lana. Lana was surprised to see Monica's new look and asked what happened. Monica said she had tried to fix her hair like Lana did the day before but couldn't do it right. She thanked Lana for helping her yesterday, but Lana said she didn't want anything in return like a headband. Monica then asked Lana to teach her how to do her hair properly. Lana laughed and Monica felt embarrassed but happy when Lana told her to sit down so she could help. Lana explained that the comb she used came from Ambiel and was decorated with tiny gemstones. But then she stopped and said her stories were boring and always sounded like rich girl talk. Monica admitted her own stories were boring too because they were all about numbers. Lana laughed and said that was strange but fun, and Monica laughed with her. When Monica saw her new hairstyle in the mirror, she was amazed. The way the braid was placed and the angle made a huge difference. Her hair looked beautiful, but Lana told her it wasn't about numbers, it was about feeling. Just then, Elliot entered the classroom. Everyone was shocked except Monica, who became very nervous and tried to hide. Elliot found her hiding and teased her, calling her a shy little squirrel. Monica told him she was human and felt very embarrassed. Elliot told her to be quiet and follow him. He brought her to the student council office, where Felix apologized for calling her over so suddenly. He introduced himself as the president of the student council. Monica remembered Lewis once told her this wasn't a good way to meet people. She thanked Felix, which surprised him. He said he didn't think he had done anything worth thanking. She told him it was for picking up her food and giving it back to her, but he told her not to worry about it. Then she asked him why he had been sneaking around the dorm last night. Elliot was surprised. This was the first time he had heard about it. Monica explained that she had seen someone from her window who looked like him, but the person had a hood and she couldn't see his face. Felix argued that a lot of people had the same body shape, but Monica quickly grabbed some chalk and started writing on the board. She explained that the person in the hood had the golden ratio. She was good at estimating sizes and measurements just by looking, and she described the person's body with exact details. She said his head had a width-to-height ratio of 1 to 1.618, a ratio many people believe is the most beautiful. Even though the person was wearing clothes, Monica said she could tell where his navel was by the length of his legs. She also claimed that both Felix and the hooded person had the same upper to lower body proportions that matched the golden ratio. After talking so much, Monica suddenly realized she might have said too much and looked embarrassed. But Felix calmly confirmed that all her measurements were correct. As expected, she really was just a harmless little squirrel. Felix said that if Monica were really an assassin, she wouldn't have done nothing when they were alone or talked so openly like that. Monica brought up the flower pot incident, suggesting maybe it just fell by accident. Felix explained that Aaron had been locked in the dorm and would be expelled soon. There had also been another incident where a wooden board almost fell on Felix. Aaron hinted that he had helped, so they set a trap in the backyard to catch the real culprit. That's when Monica realized they suspected her of being the assassin. Elliot even asked her to confess, but Monica wasn't the one responsible. Elliot then asked her to help find the real attacker, and she had no choice but to accept. Afterwards, Monica cried while hugging Nero, her talking cat. Nero commented that it was a big problem. She was being mistaken for an assassin when she was supposed to be Felix's bodyguard. Monica sat on the floor, crying, wishing she could return to her quiet mountain hut. She called herself a useless recluse. Nero, her small magical companion, agreed she was a bit hopeless, but gently patted her with his paws to comfort her. While cuddling her, he reminded her that she still needed to find out who was targeting the prince. As she looked at the broken flower pot from before, a thought struck her. Whoever threw it must have been on the top floor. Heading toward the stairs, Monica overheard some girls teasing Selma, saying that Aaron might be leaving school because of a sudden illness. Selma had been devoted to him, but now it seemed their engagement was going to be called off. Monica watched silently, but Lana spotted her and quickly pulled her away, pushing through the group of girls. Lana politely asked if they could pass, but one girl, Caroline Simmons, sneered at them. She claimed Lana should have greeted her first because her family was more prestigious. Lana calmly asked her to move again, this time making a sly joke comparing Caroline's large figure to a cow that couldn't move out of the way. Enraged, Caroline shoved Lana, who accidentally bumped into Monica, causing her to fall backward down the stairs. Time seemed as slow as Monica fell. She thought about using magic to stop herself, but worried it would draw attention. She noticed the slope of the stairs and got an idea. If she used a protective barrier to flatten the steps, she could slide down instead of crash. She activated the spell and zoomed down, screaming all the way, until she crashed into someone. It was Cyril. He asked if she was okay, and though she kept apologizing, he gently checked her forehead and noted it was a bit red. Monica was surprised he wasn't angry. His cold fingertips made her wonder if he was unknowingly releasing mana. Just then, Lana came running down, worried about Monica. When Cyril asked what happened, Caroline lied and said Lana had pushed Monica as a joke. Lana argued back, explaining that Caroline had shoved her, but Caroline mocked her, calling her nouveau riche and expecting Cyril to take her side. Monica looked at Cyril nervously, realizing this was how the aristocratic world worked. If someone powerful said you were in the wrong, that became the truth, no matter what actually happened. Trembling, Monica spoke up. She said she had simply slipped and no one was to blame. Lana tried to say more, but Monica ran off before she could. She rushed to the music room where a girl was playing piano. The girl told her to come back later, but Monica said she'd left something on the balcony. Outside, she found 3 flower pots and 1 empty one. Standing on the empty pot, she looked over the edge and confirmed this was where the thrown flower pot had come from. Her gloves were now dirty, which made her sad. She only had one pair. But suddenly, something clicked. She asked the girl if she had a key to the music room. The girl said she needed to submit a request at the faculty room. Monica thanked her and left. Meanwhile, in the student council office, Elliot was complaining to Felix. He said Monica wasn't even close to being an aristocrat, but admitted she was better suited to investigate than they were. Felix didn't want Duke Clockford to get involved even if people called him the Duke's lapdog. He wanted to prove he could handle this on his own. Just then, Monica entered, saying she knew who the real culprit was. Elsewhere, Selma was being teased again by girls pretending to be her friends. Even though they made her feel small, Selma told herself that as long as she had friends, she wasn't Selma who had nothing. Later, she was summoned to the student council office. Felix explained that Monica had identified her as the one behind the recent attacks. Monica began to explain how she figured it out, excitedly talking about the speed and angle of the flower pot's fall. Felix stopped her from rambling and asked her to just share the important details. Monica said the flower pot had been dropped from the 4th floor and she had checked who used the music room at that time. Before she could finish, Selma interrupted, nervously claiming she had only gone up there to water the plants. Monica then pointed out that Selma and she were the same height, and that Selma would have needed a stool to look over the railing. Monica had used the empty flower pot to do just that. She also noted that Selma was wearing gloves now, but earlier in the infirmary she wasn't. That meant the gloves had gotten dirty when she moved the pot. Selma tried to deny it, but Monica had found a pair of dirty gloves in the trash with Selma's initials. Selma panicked, screamed, and admitted everything, including her tampering with the student council budget. She begged Felix to forgive Aaron, saying he had been manipulated by her. Selma didn't want to lose him. He was all she had left. After Selma left, Monica asked what would happen to her. Felix replied that technically her family deserved the death penalty because it had been a royal assassination attempt. This terrified Monica, but Felix said it would be better for Selma to withdraw from school quietly. He had been moved by her willingness to give up everything for someone she cared about. With the case resolved, Monica's eyes lit up when she saw the accounting records on the table. She quickly pointed out that 3 numbers didn't add up. Felix was amazed. She could read accounting records. He asked her to help him check the books. Monica was thrilled. She hadn't been around numbers in so long. So Felix appointed her as the new student council treasurer. Shocked, Monica fell over in disbelief. That night, she was still overwhelmed. Nero tried to comfort her again, but she sobbed about suddenly becoming the student council treasurer. Nero reminded her this could help her do her job better. Earlier, Elliot had questioned why Felix picked that squirrel girl, but Felix explained that Monica had reviewed 5 years of financial records in just a few hours. When asked what she thought, Monica said the money was managed carelessly. Cyril, offended, scolded her for being disrespectful, but Monica shrank back, just wanting to go home. That night, Cyril reviewed the records and begrudgingly admitted they were perfect. He noticed her handwriting and felt a strange familiarity. As he left, he suddenly felt a sharp pain in his head, and his eyes glowed red, just like Selma's had. It was as if he had lost control of himself. The next day, Isabella made a scene, loudly criticizing Monica in public for joining the student council. She even pretended to throw a pillow dramatically, showing off her acting skills. But when Monica pointed out that she had broken all the old teacups, Isabella and her maid Agatha revealed a new set and said the broken ones were chipped anyway. Isabella then congratulated Monica on becoming treasurer and complimented her new hairstyle. She asked Agatha to give her the same one, but Agatha reminded her that villainesses couldn't copy the heroine's look, though she promised to do matching styles over the holidays. Back in class, Monica's classmates couldn't believe a country girl like her had joined the student council. Lana confronted her but then apologized for provoking Caroline the day before. She also offered to fix Monica's hair, which made Monica smile. Later, in the council room, Prince Felix asked Cyril to train Monica since he used to be treasurer. Monica wished someone closer to her age could do it, but Felix insisted. Cyril explained that being treasurer was busy work and warned her not to miss any important details. When she sneezed from the cold, he gave her a scarf. She realized again that he was leaking mana unconsciously. She also noticed the financial records and apologized, worried she had caused him extra work, but Cyril said it needed to be done anyway. He told her to stop being so timid and be proud. Her work was flawless. Still, Monica couldn't feel proud. She remembered a boy from her past who thought she looked down on him. Cyril then said he hated the word can't. He told her that he'd already investigated the staircase incident and now knew the truth. Caroline Simmons would be punished and had to write a formal apology. He admitted Monica had been very hard to read, but he eventually figured it out. Monica wondered if all nobles were like him. Cyril told her to speak louder. When she nervously stuttered, I'm sorry, he scolded her for adding dramatic staccato to her words, turning it into a funny moment. That evening, Cyril went to deliver the records to Professor Thornley. But as he walked, he found himself thinking more and more about his teacher, and his eyes started to glow red, just like Aaron's. That night, Monica and Nero were relaxing when a bird suddenly flew into their room. But it wasn't an ordinary bird. It transformed into Ren, the messenger. She brought an urgent message from Louise announcing that he was going to be a father. Nero rolled his eyes. Of all the things he didn't want to hear, this was definitely one of them. Ren insisted the news was important, but Nero completely disagreed. Then Ren handed Monica a letter. Louise had written that since Monica wasn't great at giving verbal reports, she should send him updates in writing instead. Suddenly, Ren sensed a huge surge of ice mana coming from behind the boys' dormitory. Concerned and curious, they rushed outside to investigate. Meanwhile, Cyril was stumbling through the forest. He had wanted to tell Professor Thornley the truth about the fake financial records, but now he was confused and unsure of himself. Overwhelmed, he dropped to his knees. Then his necklace lit up and a surge of mana exploded outward. His ice magic burst out uncontrollably, trapping him in frozen pillars. Monica, Ren, and Nero arrived quickly. Monica guessed that Cyril might be suffering from mana hyperabsorption, a rare condition where a person absorbs more mana than their body can handle. Those with the condition usually wore magical items to release the excess mana. Monica remembered seeing Cyril with the brooch before. Ren confirmed that this brooch had been keeping his mana stable. Nero dashed forward to remove it, but the brooch blasted him back with a powerful shot when he tried to pull it off. The ice continued to spread. Monica quickly put on her protective cloak and stepped closer to Cyril. He resisted, saying he couldn't give up the brooch because it had been entrusted to him by his father. Suddenly, Cyril attacked her with sharp icicles. Monica stayed calm and countered the attack with fire magic, all while shielding him with a protective barrier. As the ice grew stronger and surrounded his entire body, Cyril became lost in his thoughts. He remembered how his foster father had been the only one who ever accepted him. Just when it seemed like he would be completely frozen, Monica released a powerful wave of fire, breaking the ice and freeing him. When Cyril looked at Monica, he saw a flash of his mother's face. He remembered how she had never accepted him. His real father, a noble from the Marquis family, had been cruel and abusive to his commoner wife. After his father's death from drinking, Cyril had worked hard to help his mother. He felt proud when the House of Hightown adopted him, but his mother didn't seem happy about it. He believed that becoming a noble would finally make her proud. He made up his mind to keep working hard, for both her and his foster father. Cyril woke up to find Monica examining his brooch. Angrily, he demanded she give it back. Monica calmly placed it on his chest, and he fainted again. Ren praised Monica for handling the situation well. Monica had explained that she had added a protective formula to the brooch. Cyril's condition was dangerous, but if handled correctly, it could actually become useful for a mage. She asked Nero to keep an eye on him. Then she left with Ren, saying that this didn't seem like a simple case of mana overload. It felt more like mind manipulation, similar to what had happened with Aaron and Selma. They went straight to Professor Thornley's office. Before he could scold her for being out late, Monica quickly interrupted him and asked what he planned to do with the documents in his hands. She told him not to bother editing them as she had already memorized every detail. She explained that the Student Council's financial records had been messy for a long time, but 5 years ago, the embezzlement became harder to detect. The same year, Thornley became the Student Council advisor. Suddenly, the professor grabbed her arm and said that magical research needed funding. He began chanting a mind control spell to erase her memories. But Monica wasn't afraid. She pointed out that his spell was sloppy and easy to break. She then countered with a spell of her own, rewriting his magic formula in real time, something he had believed to be impossible. Glowing butterflies appeared around him, each one carrying a different formula. Before he knew it, the professor was trapped in her spell. For the next 24 hours, he would be stuck in a dream world of her creation. Inside the dream, Thornley wandered the school halls, thinking about how he needed to return the edited documents. He considered brainwashing the student council president too. But then a pig appeared and started eating the papers. More pigs arrived. Soon, he was surrounded. The pigs began singing a silly song about counting piggies while burying him under a pile of documents. Outside the dream, Professor Thornley was foaming at the mouth. Monica panicked, realizing that using mind magic on others was illegal. Ren quickly took charge, telling her not to worry. Louise would likely interrogate, or possibly torture, the professor and handle the rest. By the next day, the school was buzzing with gossip. Rumors spread that Professor Thornley had been arrested for using dark magic. Lana told Monica that one of the 7 sages was responsible for catching him. Monica froze, realizing how serious the situation was. Lana continued, saying the person who had arrested the professor was none other than Louise Miller. She began naming the 7 sages, the Barrier Mage, the Starseer Witch, the Witch of Thorns, and the Artillery Mage, but Monica cut her off by showing off her braided hairstyle instead. Meanwhile, Felix received a message from his water spirit familiar, Wildianu, who had checked on Cyril and reported that someone had carried him back to the dorm. Wildianu remained suspicious of Monica, since they still didn't know who she really was. Felix explained that he had left the student council keys out in the open as a test to see if Monica would take them, but she didn't. He wondered if she might be an agent from Duke Clotford or even a royal guard sent by the king. Jokingly, he said maybe she was an assassin. Wildianu didn't laugh. Felix reminded the spirit that his life only mattered until the next king was chosen, so he just wanted to enjoy things while he still could. In the student council office, Monica had fallen asleep from using too much mana. Cyril entered quietly and watched her for a moment. He noticed the feather in her hand and saw how small her hands were, the same hands that had helped him earlier. Then Felix walked in. Cyril panicked and quickly shook Monica awake to avoid any misunderstanding. Monica smiled sleepily when she saw that Cyril wasn't cold anymore. Felix gently fed her while she was still half asleep. Somehow, she managed to eat while dreaming. In her dream, Monica was writing a letter to Louise. She mumbled a congratulation on his wife's pregnancy, which made it sound like she was referring to Cyril. Felix joked, asking whose baby it was and saying that someone better take responsibility. Cyril turned bright red, flustered, and confused. Later, Louise received Monica's letter. She congratulated him and mentioned that she had become the student council treasurer. He was impressed that she was the first to congratulate him and surprised to learn she had joined the council. Ren asked Louise why he had chosen Monica to protect the second prince. Louise avoided the question and instead asked what she thought of him. Ren commented that it seemed like he was taking out his frustration on Monica, especially after the prince had ruined the magic barrier he had worked on all night. When asked for her honest opinion, Ren admitted she had heard Louise was a troubled man who liked picking on weak people. Louise corrected her, saying he preferred picking on the strong. It was more fun. Ren guessed that Monica believed she became one of the 7 sages only because she had no other choice. Louise agreed and remembered her interview, where she had gotten so nervous that she hyperventilated, passed out, and her eyes rolled back. Still, he believed she was a true monster, in a good way. When Ren asked if Monica was stronger than him, Louise only smiled and replied that it was hard to say. He knew the king was watching Prince Felix closely. The prince was popular with nobles and backed by the powerful Duke Clotford. Everyone saw him as the next king. But to Louise, Felix was still a mystery, someone too clever to defeat with tricks. That's why Louise enjoyed challenging him. Ren fully believed now that her master was a troubled man who liked bullying the strong. Back in the student council office, Elliot complained about having to clean up after Thornley's mess. Cyril reminded him that with their trust broken, they had to stay alert. Felix asked Monica to greet the leaders of the school clubs on his behalf. Monica froze, thinking it was an impossible task. Cyril offered to go with her. Everyone was surprised, but he said Monica deserved to be introduced as the new treasurer. Monica nervously forced herself to speak, saying she would do her best. And so she and Cyril went off to greet the club leaders. A few days later, the peace of the town was suddenly shattered by screams. Chaos spread quickly as people ran in fear. A monster had appeared, an earth dragon. Monica immediately used her magic to identify the creature. Nero groaned in frustration, complaining that he had only come for food and didn't want to deal with a dragon. Just then, Glenn Dudley rushed forward and hurled a fireball at the beast. The attack hit, but it had no effect. As Glenn soared into the air, Nero asked why he wasn't striking from above. Monica had explained that casting 2 spells at the same time was very difficult. Because she could manage it, Nero assumed all mages could do the same. While Glenn focused on chanting again, Monica used her own magic. His spell filled the area with smoke, giving her cover to launch a hidden attack that finished the dragon off. The city knights quickly gathered around Glenn, praising him for defeating the monster. Monica stayed quiet, watching as the crit went to him. With the fight over, she told Nero to move his heavy head off hers. But the cat boy only rubbed his head against hers more, purring as he asked for chicken as a reward. Before Monica could wonder if any shops were still open, vendors were already shouting that business had resumed. Humans, Nero thought, were surprisingly quick to recover. Monica, however, couldn't shake her doubts about herself. Nero tilted her head up and pointed out that she no longer seemed afraid of his human form. Monica hesitated, then admitted softly that maybe she had grown a little tougher. Meanwhile, in the teacher's office, Lindsay Pale was overwhelmed after being asked to take over Professor Thornley's class. Relief came when William Mackergan, known as the Waterbite Mage, was introduced as the new fundamental magecraft teacher. William was an honorary professor at Minerva, the top mage academy. Even the Silent Witch and the Barrier Mage had studied under him before joining the 7 Sages. Despite his fame, William sighed, saying being an honorary professor had been nothing but dull. Over in the student council office, Glenn asked Monica if she had already chosen her elective classes. She hadn't. Elliot then asked if she could play an instrument, since music was considered a noble art. Monica admitted she had no skill in that area either. Cyril, on the other hand, had been placed in the Advanced Practical Magecraft class, which he considered a noble pursuit. He and Elliot exchanged sharp looks, clearly disapproving of each other's views. Out of nowhere, Felix mentioned Cyril's lovely singing voice, leaving him flustered. He explained that he had often overheard Cyril singing in the archive room and asked if he could hear him sing properly one day. Embarrassed, Cyril quickly excused himself to fetch some papers. Felix then turned to Elliot, praising his violin playing and suggesting he and Cyril perform together sometime. Since Monica still hadn't chosen her electives, Felix recommended Magecraft. Unsure what to say, she remembered Louise's advice to simply respond that she would think about it in uncertain moments. When Felix offered to show her the class, she replied with that very phrase. Taking it as agreement, Felix said he would fetch her the next day, and so the following morning Monica walked quietly beside him. She asked if he also practiced Magecraft, but Felix admitted he had no talent for it. Soon after, they encountered Neil and Glenn. Glenn looked delighted to meet the prince, and Monica recognized him as the one who had defeated the Earth Dragon. He introduced himself as a new transfer student and Neil's classmate. When Monica introduced herself, Glenn shook her hand so hard it startled her. He then offered them roasted chestnuts from the nearby town. Felix casually mentioned that an Earth Dragon had appeared there but had been slain by a passing mage. Glenn flinched but quickly acted as though he knew nothing. He then asked Monica which elective she had chosen, and Felix answered for her, saying he was taking her to Magecraft class. Since Glenn and Neil were headed there too, they all walked together. As they reached the classroom, Monica told herself to stay calm, hoping no one would recognize her. But when the door opened and she saw Professor Macragan, all her courage nearly collapsed. Luckily, his poor eyesight made it unlikely he would notice her. Felix introduced them as 3 new students, and the professor simply told them to sit anywhere. Class began with Macragan's lecture. He explained that a mage's most important trait was their mana. A normal level was around 50, but reaching over 100 was considered remarkable. Those with 150 or higher could even qualify to join the 7 sages. Monica's anxiety grew worse when Macragan brought up the Silent Witch. Listening to him praise her achievements made her squirm. He even handed out the formulas she had created, ordering students to memorize them for the next exam. Macragan continued, explaining that someone gifted in mana manipulation could still use Magecraft even without deep knowledge of formulas. Then he demonstrated the mana measuring device. Placing his hand on it, a crystal glowed blue with a reading of 160, showing his water affinity. Now it was the student's turn. Glenn's eyes lit up with ambition. If his mana was high enough, this could be his first step toward becoming one of the 7 sages. However, Monica remembered the last time she measured her power. It was 202, and she was still growing. While the other students lined up to measure theirs, Monica hid by the side. Just as she was about to slip away, Professor Macragan noticed her. He felt that she looked familiar. Before he could approach her, the device suddenly cracked under Glenn's overwhelming mana. Macragan groaned about the costs of repairing it, and in the commotion, Monica quietly slipped away. At a safe distance, she recalled the reading. Glenn's mana level was over 250. Even among the 7 sages, only 2 people had ever reached such a level. Suddenly, someone shouted, "I lost." Curious, Monica went to see what was happening and found students gathered around a chessboard. She had no idea what the game was. Elliot appeared behind her, making her jump. Noticing her confusion, he grabbed her arm and pulled her closer to watch. When Monica asked how someone could win, Elliot laughed and explained that the goal was to capture the king. He said chess was like war and nobles learned it to study strategy. But when Monica began discussing real war tactics, the other students stared at her in shock. To her, the game seemed simple. Elliot, feeling confident, decided to play without his queen and let Monica go first. When she asked if he was sure, he noticed she had already realized the advantage of the first move. The match began. The other students crowded around to watch. Soon, Elliot grew nervous. Monica was pressing him hard. He saw a chance to win using the castling technique, something he hadn't taught her yet. When he made the move, Monica immediately realized she couldn't win. She admitted defeat. Just then, a huge man approached their table and asked Monica's name. Terrified, she stammered until Elliot calmly said it for her. The man handed her a letter urging her to attend class. Back in her room, Monica sat stunned. Nero patted her hand with his soft paws, trying to comfort her. She couldn't possibly attend the Magecraft class. It was taught by Macragan. Crying, she asked Nero what she should do. He only offered his little paws to soothe her. The next day, Monica replayed her chess moves in her head. She had actually enjoyed the game. Elliot came over and interrupted her thoughts by asking Cyril about a strange drawing. Cyril explained it was supposed to be a bull and a wheel, the crest of a merchant, but it looked nothing like it. He told Elliot he was trying to copy the Abbott Company's symbol. Looking at it, Monica saw how far off it was. Monica then quietly sketched the actual Abbott Company crest. Seeing her drawing, Elliot asked Monica to come with him to meet the merchants. As they left, Cyril watched and Bridget teased him for being overprotective. Outside, Elliot felt uneasy and regretted using the castling move during the chess game, thinking it was disgraceful for a noble. When he tried to mention it, Monica suddenly said that the crest was different. The one displayed nearby had 10 axles instead of 12. Elliot asked if she was sure. Monica assured him she never forgot what she saw. He told her to fetch the guards while he stalled for time, but before she could, the fake merchant pulled a dagger. Elliot declared it his duty as a noble to protect the commoners. As he rushed forward, Monica cast lightning magic on a horse, sending it rampaging. The animal knocked the imposters to the ground and she quickly put them to sleep. Unfortunately, the horse was still out of control and charged toward her. Monica screamed, frozen in fear. Elliot ran to protect her, but another girl appeared and calmed the horse in an instant. Afterward, Elliot secured the imposters and went to call the guards. Monica thanked the girl, who introduced herself as Casey Grove. Casey gently encouraged Monica to pet the horse. While stroking its mane, Monica apologized for hurting it earlier. When Monica spoke too formally, Casey laughed and told her to be casual. Casey explained that back in her hometown, she often loaded animals onto wagons, just like an old man Sam's pig song. She doubted Monica knew it, but Monica surprised her by humming the rhythm. Suddenly, Casey pulled her toward a wagon, pointing to the golden sunset overhead. She asked if Monica would like to take horse riding lessons together. Monica hesitated, worried about her poor coordination, but Casey assured her that beginners were welcome. Jokingly, she said she'd be his second teacher if Monica joined now. Encouraged, Monica admitted she wanted to try. Casey gladly agreed to teach her. Later, back in her room, Monica had fallen asleep at her desk. Nero noticed the papers nearby. She had signed up for chess and horse riding as her elective lessons. In her office, Lindsay sat nervously, worried about the students. Anyone accepted into the academy should at least know how to dance, she thought. But clearly, that wasn't the case. On the practice floor, Glenn twirled Monica so fast that she begged him to stop. By the time he finally let go, she was already rolling across the ground, too dizzy to stand. Neil frowned, saying they needed to figure things out before the retest. Casey stepped in with a practical idea. They would switch partners until everyone learned the steps. She paired herself with Glenn, while Neil took Monica's hand and began guiding her through the dance. A little later, Lana appeared, offering to play the piano for them. When Glenn asked Monica if she was friends with Lana, Monica admitted it without even realizing what she had said. As practice went on, Neil privately told Felix that Monica's chance of passing the retest would depend entirely on how much they practice. Cyril, overhearing, muttered that if Neil was speaking this frantically, the situation must be a complete disaster. Despite their doubts, Felix remained confident. He gently lifted Monica's chin and told her he'd expected her to succeed. Nervous and flustered, she started calculating the dance tempo in her head, only for Cyril to sigh and remind her to stop thinking so much and just move her body. That night, Nero was helping in his own way. Massaging Monica's back with his paws, he explained that he had read about dancing in books and assumed it was some kind of contest to see who could step on their partner's feet the most. Monica tried to explain otherwise, but he only looked more confused. Felix's encouragement made Monica think of her father. He had lived his life trying to meet the expectations of others, searching for cures to human illness. But in the end, he was accused of heresy and burned at the stake. Monica, who had inherited her father's love of research, discovered enchanted magecraft by chasing after those expectations. Yet she wished no one expected anything from her at all. She longed to return to the peace of her mountain hut, surrounded by nothing but numbers. Still, she couldn't ignore the friends she had made. Thinking of them gave her the sudden determination to practice dancing more seriously. Nero transformed into his human form and offered to partner with her. Monica doubted he could dance, but to her surprise, he moved with effortless skill. She, on the other hand, kept stepping on his feet and kicking him. The next day, Lindsay announced group assignments for the upcoming tea party, a compulsory lesson like ballroom dancing. Isabel was thrilled and immediately promised to help Monica succeed. She explained that tea parties were about personal taste. There was no wrong choice as long as no two people served the same kind. Isabel asked Monica to investigate what the others in her group planned to bring. Monica learned that Lana and Casey were with her, but she didn't recognize the fourth member. Isabel promised to prepare the perfect tea for Monica and even gave her lessons on how a proper noble lady should behave, though Monica doubted she could act that way. Later, Casey joined Monica. She suggested that since most students had servants prepare their tea, they should instead brew their own together. She also placed name tags on their tea so no one would mix them up. When the bell rang, Casey urged them to hurry before Claudia, the forgotten fourth member. Casey described her as a genius nicknamed the Walking Library. At the table, Claudia sat stiffly and greeted them with a robotic, "Enjoy your tea." She wasn't anything like the villainous noblewoman Isabel had described. When Lana tried to make small talk, Claudia cut her off with sharp remarks, criticizing her tea as too strong for a proper start. She claimed such tea might suit noble ladies, but here it was inappropriate, almost insulting. Lana grew frustrated and snapped back, but Claudia only smirked, asking if she was really worth wasting breath on. Turning to Monica, she suddenly mentioned the silent witch. Claudia praised her as a wise person who knew the value of silence. Monica panicked inside. If only Claudia knew the truth. She told herself she was just an introverted loner, not some great sage. When Claudia noted that Monica's name resembled the silent witches, she asked if Monica stayed silent because she refused to waste words on fools. Thinking Claudia had discovered her identity, Monica scurried off to make her tea. But when she reached the counter, she found her tea leaves had been thrown away. Casey walked in and quickly noticed. When Monica admitted she had no spares, Casey offered to share her own, insisting it was fine if they presented the same kind. What mattered most was enjoying the tea together. Still, Monica fled, unable to accept the idea. A little later, she returned wobbling with a tray, not of tea, but of coffee. Since she was serving last, she reasoned the strong taste wouldn't matter. Casey and Lana loved it, especially after Monica had explained she brewed it with her special pot to avoid bitterness. Claudia, however, coldly argued that serving anything other than tea at a tea party was improper. Monica ignored her, explaining she only wanted to share something she loved with her friends. Lana, touched by her sincerity, teared up and drank her cup of coffee in one gulp. With that, the tea party ended. Monica had passed, though she still had to face the dreaded dance retest. When the day came, Monica froze at the sight of Felix and Cyril waiting inside the practice hall. Felix reassured her that he wouldn't burden her with impossible expectations. Cyril, however, muttered that Felix hadn't invited him and that he had come simply to keep an eye on her. To break the tension, Cyril stepped forward, bowed dramatically, and offered his hand. "May I have this dance, my lady?" he said with uncharacteristic grace. Monica, blushing, allowed him to lead. To her surprise, she somehow knew where to step. This wasn't the awkward Cyril she was used to, but the precise rhythm of his body reassured her it was still him. Afterward, Cyril yelled at Glenn, telling him this was how a man should lead in ballroom dance. Felix chuckled and encouraged Glenn to learn from Cyril. Then, with a confident smile, he invited Monica to dance. She fumbled nervously, so Felix smoothly caught her by the waist. As they moved together, he told her not to overthink the steps, but simply talk with him. Looking into her eyes, he noticed the faint tint of green like sunlight filtering through a forest canopy. Monica spoke about the hair comb Lana had chosen for her, and Felix was enchanted by her happiness. She, on the other hand, was distracted by his emerald brooch, wondering if it could serve as a reflective barrier. By the time she finished her calculations, the dance was already over. Casey clapped, praising Monica for truly dancing in the second half. But Monica admitted she hadn't realized she was dancing at all. Her mind had been elsewhere. When Felix asked if she found conversation with him unnecessary, she grew flustered and claimed his brooch had helped her dance well. Cyril scolded her to properly thank the prince, but Felix only laughed. Monica's classmates were thrilled when she passed her exams. To celebrate, they grilled meat together on the school grounds. While everyone was laughing and enjoying the food, Prince Felix suddenly appeared. He reminded them that they weren't allowed to grill without permission. Just when Monica thought the fun was over, Felix surprised them all by joining in. The students were shocked. None of them expected a prince to sit down and eat with them. Later, Ren came to Monica with a gift from Louise. It was a reward for capturing Thornley. Monica wanted to thank him properly, so she decided to write a letter. Ren also revealed something new. Louise's barrier around the academy was strong against outside threats, but weak against dangers that came from within. That explained why intruders could slip through. Monica guessed that Louise must have hidden the barrier's formula somewhere inside the school. According to Ren, Louise himself had said the barrier was full of traps and even dared Monica to try rewriting it. On her way to the student council room, Monica suddenly noticed Claudia standing nearby, staring at her. It wasn't the first time. It seemed they had been bumping into each other a lot lately. Nervous, Monica tried to walk past quickly, but before she could reach her destination, she ran into Caroline and her group of friends. Caroline greeted her politely and invited her to a tea party. Monica hesitated but reminded herself that she was part of the student council. She should be able to handle something like this. At the tea table, Caroline mentioned the day Monica had been pushed down the stairs. She seemed relieved Monica was unharmed and asked her for a favor. Tell Cyril that it was just an accident. Monica froze. If she agreed, it would undo everything Cyril had done to protect her. Her hands trembled, but for once she stood her ground. She answered firmly that she didn't want to do it. For the first time, she felt proud of herself. But when she looked up, Caroline was glaring at her with cold eyes. The other girls giggled as Monica picked up her teacup. The tea was unusually bitter, and Monica wondered if it was some kind of special blend. Still, she drank the whole cup. The girls were shocked. None of them expected her to finish it. Then everything blurred. Monica's vision turned red and she was dragged back into a painful memory. The day her father was burned alive. She saw the angry townspeople calling him a heretic and watched his books burn in the flames. She tried desperately to remember the numbers her father had left behind, wanting to protect some piece of his life. While she clung to these memories, her drunken uncle cursed her father for ruining his business. Back in the present, Monica collapsed on the ground. Students gathered in panic. Claudia rushed forward, confronted Caroline, and found the poison hidden in her pockets. Caroline stammered that it was only eye drops, but Claudia wasn't fooled. She forced Monica to vomit and shouted for someone to call the medical office and the student council. Through the haze, Monica felt a warm hand holding hers. For a moment, she thought it was her father. But when she opened her eyes, she saw Felix and Cyril beside her. Ashamed, she bowed her head and apologized for causing trouble. Felix gently asked her to look at him, but guilt weighed too heavily. As a council member, she felt she had failed. Cyril didn't let her blame herself. He picked her up, tucked her into bed, and warned that he would tie her down if she tried to leave. Claudia arrived soon after and casually called Cyril Big Brother, which annoyed him. Felix thanked her for saving Monica, but Claudia only gave a blunt reply that irritated Cyril even more. She refused to act friendly like him. Claudia teased Cyril for worrying so much about Monica, which made him flustered. Once the boys left, Claudia stayed behind. She told Monica she was lucky to survive the poison but kept calling her a little kid. Monica asked her to stop, but Claudia insisted she didn't want Monica seeing her as a savior. Monica assumed Claudia hated her, but Claudia calmly said she neither liked nor hated her. Confused, Monica wondered why Claudia had been following her. Was it because she had discovered her secret identity? Claudia leaned in close and said, "You seduced my fiancé." Monica panicked, thinking she meant Felix. She quickly tried to deny it, but before she could explain further, Glenn and Neil walked in. Glenn asked if they knew each other, and Claudia suddenly declared they were friends. Neil praised Claudia for her treatment methods, which made her smile. Then, out of nowhere, she announced that she was Neil's fiancé. Neil quickly explained that it was only an arranged engagement and that he didn't think he was a good match. Claudia ignored his protests and turned to Monica, asking if they looked like a cute couple. Her sharp stare made it clear Monica had better agree. Just then, Casey burst into the room, confused by the tense atmosphere. Watching all this, Felix remembered his own past pain. He admitted to Cyril that it was harder for him to watch. Cyril explained that Caroline and her friends were waiting to be questioned, and Isabella also wanted to talk to Caroline herself. Caroline and her group were restless and scared, but Caroline tried to stay calm, believing her father would protect her from the consequences. When Felix entered, Caroline couldn't meet his eyes. But when she finally looked up and saw him smiling, she believed he was on her side. Felix asked her directly why she tried to poison Monica. Caroline quickly claimed it was just a prank, insisting the eye drops were harmless and often used to perk people up. Cyril pointed out, however, that Claudia had said they were actually used for eye surgery. Caroline insisted she didn't know and begged Felix to believe her. Felix pressed further, asking if she had done it to embarrass Monica. Caroline fell silent, unable to answer. Then Isabella entered the room. Caroline thought she would support her, since Isabella had always disliked Monica. But instead, Isabella shocked everyone by apologizing on behalf of her family, the House of Count Kerbeck. She even offered tea, which Agatha served. Isabella suddenly pulled out a small vial, claiming it was a beauty enhancer. Without hesitation, she dropped some into the teas. Caroline froze, horrified by the act. Her friends turned to her, clearly expecting her to intervene. She believed Isabella had to be bluffing, but as she took a sip, Caroline quickly spat it all out, saying it was poison. Unbothered, Isabella simply poured in more of the liquid and drank the cup clean. She then smirked, pointing out that it was harmless and merely used for beauty. While Monica's manners might be lacking, Isabella mocked Caroline for being far worse, especially in front of Prince Felix. Her expression hardened as Isabella declared she would report the poisoning to her father since it directly concerned her family. This threat wasn't empty. The Kerbeck family's soldiers were the only ones capable of fending off dragon raids in the Eastern Territories. If ties between the Kerbeck and Caroline families broke, Caroline's domain might not survive until reinforcements arrived from the capital. The weight of these words struck Caroline with icy dread. She broke into a cold sweat, realizing her reckless actions could spell disaster for her homeland. Isabella drove the point further, ordering her to warn every girl in the dormitory. This is what happens when you cross the House of Kerbeck. The room fell silent, no one daring to speak as Isabella swept out with authority. But in truth, Isabella wasn't only making an example of Caroline. She had resolved to protect Monica from further harm, remembering the kindness she once received from the Silent Witch. She instructed Agatha to set up an extra bed so Monica could stay under her care. Thus, Monica spent a full week recovering in Isabella's quarters. Surrounded by safety and attention, she regained her strength, though her mind remained unsettled. When she finally returned to her attic room, she was surprised to find Ren waiting patiently for her. Seeing him, Monica immediately apologized and explained everything that had happened. Ren listened quietly, then frowned, wondering aloud why someone like the Silent Witch had nearly been killed by poison. Monica had no answer for him. Deep down, she asked herself the same question. That morning, Monica was still shaken after nearly being killed by poison. Ren tried to lighten her mood, handing over a bundle of letters that had arrived while she'd been away. When Monica opened them, she quickly recognized the handwriting. They were from Lana. She smiled, touched that her friend had written so much. She placed the letters safely in her drawer, happy just knowing she was cared for. Later, Monica went out with Casey and Lana to a restaurant. She thought it would be a simple outing, but then Claudia appeared, striding in like she belonged at their table. Claudia didn't even ask, she just announced she was joining. Monica had no choice but to accept. Claudia reminded her that she was Monica's lifesaver, so that meant they were friends whether Monica liked it or not. When the food arrived, Monica noticed it was delicious. Casey dug right in, eating her grilled fish with her hands. Claudia looked at her with disdain, saying only commoners ate like that. But Casey wasn't flustered. She simply explained that in her hometown, everyone ate that way. Then she changed the subject, asking what Claudia planned to see at the school festival. Claudia's cold answer was that she wouldn't bother. She'd stay in her room until the ball. Since Neil was too busy to spend time with her, there was no point in attending. Lana tried to spark some interest. She reminded them that the school play was the highlight of the festival, and she was in charge of the costumes. There would even be fireworks this year. She invited Monica and Casey to watch it with her, hoping Claudia would get curious. But Claudia remained unmoved. Casey then pulled out a piece of embroidery she'd made for the charity bazaar. It was beautiful, and when the others admired it, she offered to make something for them too. Monica hesitated, saying Casey was already teaching her horseback riding. But Casey brushed it off, insisting this was just a little favor. On their way out of the restaurant, Cyril approached Monica. He said the student council needed help moving materials. Claudia immediately criticized him for being careless, especially when she heard Neil and Bridget would be working together. She was about to rush over and interfere, but Cyril stopped her. Then Claudia teased Cyril, noting that Monica called her by her first name, but still addressed him formally as Lord Ashley. Laughing, she said that meant Monica considered him nothing more than an ordinary acquaintance. Flustered, Cyril told Monica to just call him by his first name. Meanwhile, Nero was out hunting for food when he detected a strange mana signature. Elsewhere, Felix was giving orders to Elliot, telling him to guide some traders around while he prepared for their reception. Back with the council, Cyril updated Monica, saying the stage designer would soon arrive to inspect the construction materials. But before long, Casey came rushing in. The designer had gotten caught in an argument with the historical accuracy team, so she had come in his place. Casey took charge of the counting work and asked Monica to cross-check with the supply list. As they worked, disaster nearly struck. A bundle of planks came loose, falling directly toward Casey. Monica reacted instantly, casting wind magic to push them away. Casey froze in terror, but Monica and Cyril quickly checked if she was hurt. Once things settled, Cyril asked Monica to escort Casey to the infirmary while he stayed behind to fix the mess. On the way, Monica shared her suspicions. The ropes that had held the planks showed shallow cuts, like someone had staged an accident. Because blades had been restricted after the last incident, she began to wonder if Casey herself had tampered with them. Casey laughed coldly and admitted it was true. She confessed she had been aiming for Monica because she despised her. She had hated her from the very first day they met. Monica thought that couldn't be right. It had to be a lie. But Casey continued, saying she was the one who had sabotaged Monica's tea at the tea party. Suddenly, Nero burst in through a window. He warned Monica that he had detected a strange surge of mana near the west warehouse. Focusing, Monica sensed it too, fire energy twisting unnaturally into a spiral. She called it a spiral flame. Turning to Casey, she asked if her goal was to kill the prince. That very warehouse, Maybelle was trying to convince Felix to take the role of king in the final scene of the school play. Elian had asked for it too, but Felix refused, saying it was a distraction from the student council's work. Maybelle left disappointed. Lilianu, watching, asked Felix if it was really wise to ignore Eliane, since she was one of his potential fiancés. But Felix didn't care. He said he didn't want a prearranged marriage. He would still become king even if people saw him only as Duke Clockford's puppet. That same conviction was what drove Casey against him. She believed that if Felix became king, Duke Clockford would drag the nation into a war with Landor. Her hatred ran deep. She revealed her story. Years ago, her city had no soldiers, no money, so when a dragon attacked, it was devastated. Her 3 older brothers all died to dragons. One dropped from the sky by a Terra dragon, one burned alive by flames, one torn apart by a red dragon. The kingdom had done nothing to help them. Instead, it was Landor who secretly sent aid. For that, Casey could never forgive Duke Clockford or the second prince. Monica tried to plead with her. She begged Casey to stop the spiral flame, but Casey refused. She said even if she were tortured, she would never give in. Tears welled in Monica's eyes. If she did nothing now, she knew she would regret it forever. So she made a decision. She told Nero she would attack the academy herself to trigger Louise's barrier. Once it activated, Nero could search for the barrier's weak point. Monica unleashed her spell, and soon Nero detected the activation source. It was hidden in an old garden. But before they could move, Casey blocked their path with a blade. Nero managed to disarm her, but she still insisted Monica couldn't stop her. They ran to the garden. As they moved, Casey caught sight of Monica's determined profile. It reminded her of her brothers, who had all died fighting dragons with the same burning resolve. At the garden, Monica found the barrier's activation point. She prepared to overwrite it with an anti-spiral flame formula, but Ren had warned her it was full of traps. Right then, wild vines shot up, lashing toward them. Nero intercepted, saving them. Monica realized the truth. This barrier couldn't have been made by Louise alone. Only the Witch of Thorns could conjure plants that grew and attacked so violently. Monica raised a barrier of her own to shield them. Casey, stunned, asked how she had done it. With no time to spare, Monica prepared something greater. She summoned a silver gate, calling forth the Spirit King. Unlike other spells, this required ritual chanting, words passed down from Ralph, the first king of Riddle, who had slain the evil dragon. Through the gate came Sheffield, the Wind Spirit King. His power cut the vines, clearing the way. Monica rushed to rewrite the formula. The spiral flame grew unstable, seconds from exploding, but she finished just in time. Casey stared at her, shaken. She admitted she couldn't understand Monica at all. She told Monica to hate her, because she was a criminal who had tried to kill the king. Before Monica could reply, Nero sensed danger and darted off, leaving her behind. And then Louise appeared, landing heavily. He had felt his barrier tremble, and now the culprit stood before him. That marks the end of today's Anime Recap. If you enjoyed the video and want more of it, please support the channel by leaving a like and subscribe. Let's help us reach a current goal of 10K subscribers.